It's your boy Mike. Welcome back to another Dokkan battle video. So to quickly recap the Dokkan payment situation that we were talking about in the previous video, Labo shows this tweet where someone was crediting another artist for the Dokkan animation, saying that I loved your animations. Labo speaks up and is like, actually that was my animations. This is proof that this is mine. He deleted the tweet and said that he was opposing inhumane conditions, and that the main reason why he is doing all of this is not only because he wasn't paid and wasn't signing anything for his animations, but also because he didn't want to follow the rules, right? And then that's the whole reason why he posted the Super Saiyan 4 Goku and was giving credit to himself, right? Then we had the other creator known as Mello or Animello, whichever one. I butchered butchered Labo's name the previous time. I do apologize to them for that. But then Mello came in and was like, I also made animations too. You know, this is my Super Saiyan 4 Goku animations. And while it's not the final product, this is we can see on the top left, it had their name on it as well. They also were not paid. They did not sign an NDA or a contract. And they were showing this so that way their animation did not only not go unseen, but also so that way they could talk about the fact that, you know, this is just despicable behavior on Dokkan's part, right? But now we have some new information from Mello with this whole document. Let's go ahead and read the entire thing first, and then we can give our thoughts afterwards. For the record, we were a group of animators. Cutting Edge contacted us. Cutting Edge is the people who hired Mello and the others. Contacted us because we were recommended by a friend who was already working for them on Dokkan Battle. They saw our portfolio and decided to recruit us with full understanding of our capabilities. As usual in the world of Japanese animation, we worked without an NDA or contract. We were in contact with someone who claimed to be the director, but under the pseudonym Jin Kobayashi, I believe is how you pronounce it, to hide his involvement in Dokkan Battle. During production, he asked us to do more than 30 cuts. Shortly after delivering our first cuts, we suggested signing a contract between us and Cutting Edge. They replied that it would be complicated for them since they themselves were not allowed to subcontract without the permission of the rights holders, in this case Bandai Namco, Shueisha, Toei, and etc. However, given the urgent situation due to the enormous amount of work, they were forced, quote unquote, to work with us without a contract. Shortly after, we suggested seeking additional support on social media for the amount of work requested. The director agreed, and therefore we set to work on our animations and posted an announcement on social media to find help. A few hours later, the studio contacted us in a panic, saying that what we were doing was not allowed, even though we had their approval. The simple fact that we were working on Dokkan was not information that we were supposed to be revealing. So we asked why he hadn't told us or had us sign an NDA in that case. The director replied, if I had you sign a contract, you'd be paid less and you'll lose artistic freedom. We didn't understand what he meant, so we asked for explanations, clarifications, but each of the director's answers were vague at best, cryptic at worst, and no one could understand him. But we figured it was just because he was a little eccentric. So we took down the post and continued working on the project. For those who work in the industry, it's important to note that we were contacted to do LOs, but the director wanted to change the workflow in the middle of production. So we went along with his vision and worked the old-fashioned way, separating our LO into two parts. The first consisted of creating a real LO, animation and sketchy, Genzu. I again apologize if I'm butchering some of this, because I'm just reading it as I can. The second was to create and I have no idea how to pronounce that. Once we had received feedback from the director, we had about 10 days left with 10 cuts to render. We had already finished the LOs and Genzus for all the other cuts. And then the assistant producer suddenly decided to stop us. He explained that the increasing workload at Cutting Edge had forced them to shorten our deadline, and he wanted us to finish the 10 cuts in a weekend. Not only did he refuse to pay the cuts, but he still wanted to use some of them, which proves it wasn't really a quality issue. Some of the cuts that had already been approved were rejected, while others that were far from finished were accepted. It was mostly incoherent rambling. They also planned to remove our names from the timesheets for some cuts. We protested, saying that they had no right to use what we had produced without paying nor crediting us. They also argued that some of the cuts were not of sufficient quality for them, even though they had approved them, even though they had recommended work to us for the following months. After hours of endless discussions, they decided I'm really sorry. They decided to not use what they would not pay us for. And after lecturing us, if you want to work in Japanese animations, you have to follow the rules. We replied, in that case, why not hire Japanese people directly? The Japanese, this is what they replied. The Japanese know our methods too well. They do the bare minimum and are not motivated. In the end, they paid us less than half the shots that we had delivered. Some of the unpaid shots ended up in the final product. I know we're not the only ones in this situation. I've heard from others that have been going through the same thing. And then we have this new person as well. I'm going to just go on a limb and say that it's Ale. They put, the PA contacted me on X with a payment amount I agreed to, but later it was lowered. I delivered 2 approved cuts, and before the third, they asked me to redo all previous line art in one day with no specs or proper direction. Payment promised for January was also never made. No NDA either, due to reduced pay, unrealistic deadlines, and no payment. I stopped. I met all deadlines and delivered solid work. I thought it was just me. It's a shame seeing this kind of bad management and hate to the animators. So, I'm not going to pull up the tweet. Actually, no, I'll talk about that afterwards. So, from my understanding, Dokkan hires a middleman, Cutting Edge, and Dokkan tasks them with going ahead and finding animators. And Dokkan is just doing whatever on their own side, right? And Cutting Edge is like, okay, we're going to go ahead and find some of these artists on Twitter, and hires a ton of animators in order to work on the animations that Dokkan wants. So the 10th year LRs, for example, or 11th year LRs, for example. And once they hire animators like Mello, they not only don't have them sign a contract or an NDA, because they don't want to what was it that they said? What was like the exact thing? If I have you sign a contract, you'll be paid less and you'll lose artistic freedom. That's what Cutting Edge said. So what Cutting Edge did was they went behind Bandai Namco's back, they went behind Shueisha's back, they went behind Toei Animation's back, they went behind Dokkan's back, and they hired people to make the animations. Dokkan was probably going ahead and of course giving Cutting Edge money, and Cutting Edge was probably looking for genuinely any way that they could skimp out on these animations and keep as much of that money as possible. So they make it where they hire these people without contracts, without NDAs, without anything, and they basically lie to Bandai about all of this stuff, about most likely how much animators that they're taking, about all of like the work. Because on top of that, don't forget, they're trying to also remove the names of these creators as well, of these animators, and saying we're going to be removing your which part was it? I'm trying. Hold on. Let me pause real quick so I could just find it real quick. Right there in the middle. They also plan to remove our names from the timesheets for some cuts. So how we saw in the animation before, where on the top left, we can see on the timesheet, it says Mello the entire time, obviously showing off that like this is the work that Mello did. And it has it where not only once does it show it, but it shows it twice, right? And they were planning to remove that and just cut that out entirely, most likely so that way they could either credit it under another artist, or just say that they themselves did it in-house, right? That Cutting Edge was the one that did it. So like I understand, and we can talk about it now. I've seen some posts on the timeline, and I'm not gonna bring them up, of people being like, I can't believe not only did you talk about like the director who like pseudonym, like his pen name, but you also talked about the company that hired you, and talked about like this and that. And it's like, of course, are you serious? Why are we defending? Like, I'm sorry, but if you're going out of your way to fuck with these animators, and you're going out of your way to not do any of the correct moves, in a sense, right? Like, to do the right thing. If you are doing the wrong thing the entire time, and you are having it where you are intentionally like just fucking over these animators the entire time, fuck you. Like, genuinely, you do not get the respect that you think you deserve. It's as simple as that. You don't get to hide behind that anymore because of what you're doing, and because of you being shady. And of course, I do think that there is some blame to be made, because we're like, some of these comments, right? I can't believe Dokkan is people are shilling for Dokkan, and I agree. Like, Dokkan is at fault for some of this, but a lot of these people are saying like, I can't believe Dokkan would do this. I can't believe Dokkan should be embarrassed. We're boycotting Dokkan, doing all this stuff for Dokkan. Genuinely, it's this. It's not Dokkan. Yes, Dokkan was the people who hired them, and again, we can put some of the blame onto that, but we have it from Mello's words themselves. The whole reason why that Cutting Edge was doing all of this stuff with no contracts, no NDA, lower pay, all of this stuff, was to go behind Bandai Namco's back, because they would have to get permission from them. They would have to get permission from the rights holders. And Cutting Edge said, oh, we can't do that. We are on too much of a time crunch, so we're just gonna go ahead and do all of this stuff behind their back, because we're not allowed to subcontract without the permission. So we can't do that. So we have to be putting the blame on not only the director, especially the director, by the way, but mainly on Cutting Edge. Like, Dokkan, for all we know, just didn't know any of this. They thought that they were having, like, let's say a handful of animators, let's say like 4 or 5 of them working on these Dokkan original animations. And meanwhile, we have it where Cutting Edge is doing like 10, 20, 30 animators all doing these Dokkan original animations, and then they're submitting the Dokkan original animations and getting paid for it. But they're trying their best to not have to make it where they're signing contracts and paying these animators the least amount of money possible, and pocketing all of it, and trying their best to not have to make these animators sign NDAs, and having it where they're not signing any of these contracts, and making it where they're just trying to get over Bandai Namco's, Shueisha's, Toei Animations, etc.'s head, right? Like that we have to be pointing the blame at Cutting Edge and talking about this, because this isn't right. The fact that some of these animations were taken by Cutting Edge and given to Dokkan and being like, hey, here's the final product that we made for you. And then Dokkan puts it in the game, and they're the ones who are giving like getting the millions and millions of dollars, of course, while these animators are being paid sometimes nothing. That's insane. But again, I really do have to say we have to really focus at Cutting Edge. If we're just pointing fingers at Bandai themselves, then we're just shifting the blame, because who was to stop Bandai from being like, okay, we're just gonna fire like not Mello, because Mello is clearly not gonna probably work with them anymore, but let's say we're gonna fire all of the people who are working under Cutting Edge right now, but Cutting Edge will continue to work at Bandai Namco, and then this happens again, and then this happens in the future, and then the same situation that's happening right now is going to happen for 12th year anniversary or GDC or whatever monthly Dokkan Fest that might have Dokkan original animations, or any LR that comes out in the future, right? We have to talk about that. Cutting Edge is the main villain here. It is what I'm trying to say, right? And it truly is sad. I'm gonna go ahead and link Mello's thing. We can go ahead and read some of these quote tweets, and then we'll go ahead and stop. But it's aggravating, because it's just so fucking stupid. Yeah, fuck Dokkan and fuck Bandai Namco. Again, they were Cutting Edge is supposed to be asking for permission to contract these guys, and they're just going around their heads. If we can't say fuck Bandai, like, I get it. Again, Bandai was the people who hired Cutting Edge in the first place, but they're going around their heads. The Japanese are not as submissive as people think in the West tend to believe. That's why they recruit foreign artists. Well, of course, having it, yeah, the Japanese know our methods too well. They do bare minimum and are not motivated. Of course, because who wants to work for free? They're just trying to get new victims. Like, it's genuinely just that. And then on top of that, I also think that, like, it's also a thing of, like, it's always going to be cheaper to hire someone like freelance and have it where they just come in for like one project and you only have to pay them for one project, than to constantly have an animator in-house, I feel like, or at least from what I believe. So having these people get paid less because they're only doing one job and they're only doing contract work is also probably just cheaper for them as well. So do people still think it was the animator's fault? I hope not. Like, dude, I cannot believe that there are still people who are on, who are blaming the animators for quote unquote like breaking contract, or talking about like the pseudonym, or talking about the director. Like, bro, you are actively seeing like someone get scammed and then being like, whoa, you can't out the scammer like that. You can't do that. That's fucked up. Like, come on, man. Again, I'm not gonna pull up stuff because I don't want to bring any attention to them, but genuinely fuck those people. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I think that, again, it's the whole reason why I made the first video in the first place. I told you that I was giving my information based off of the information at hand, and I was already on Mello's side before, and now I'm even more on Mello's side afterwards. But yeah, I cannot believe this, man. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Thank you guys all for watching. The link for Mello's tweet will be in the comments as well. Go show them some love and support, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.